This is breaking news.
Albuquerque police are investigating a shooting near West Mesa High School.
Yeah, students are now being evacuated from the school, and right now APS and APD officials are updating us on what happened there today. Let's listen in.
And family who has loved ones at West Mesa High School, there is nobody further in danger at this time. We do have one individual that will confirm is deceased. This individual was a student at West Mesa High School. As soon as we were able to identify that individual, we did have victim advocates start, and the victim advocates are with the family at this difficult time. And I ask that we have some prayers for that family during this difficult moment. We did have a shooting just outside of West Mesa High School grounds. It appears one of them, like I stated, the victim was a student and may have exited the school, and some kind of altercation occurred with another individual. We do have a suspect identified that we're trying to verify to see if it is indeed the offender. We have an apprehension on team on site waiting to go see if they could take this individual into custody once we're able to verify some information. I think it's important to note that we did coordinate and hold off on trying to release students to their families so that we could ensure that it was done in an orderly fashion and we didn't have chaos, and kids are being reunited with family as we speak, and we will continue to investigate this. We have all our resources out here now to further this investigation and try to get some answers as quickly as possible. But once again, early indications are, we have a juvenile and a firearm, and it's a bad mix, and we have a deceased student from the school. We'll continue to work this case to see if we could get somebody as quickly as possible into custody. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to APS. We'll take questions at the end.
So we did have a shooting. While it didn't occur on an APS campus, it was far too close, and it certainly involved one of our students. And our thoughts, our prayers go out to that student's family and to all the families at West Mesa who I know are wildly upset and probably very fearful. I want to make it very clear this wasn't an active shooter situation. The gun did not come onto campus. The student left campus and this altercation occurred. But as I say, it's deeply disturbing. It's very hard for our schools, and I think it really speaks to the need of the public to work with us in terms of making sure that juveniles don't have access to weapons. This is a tragedy. This is incredibly hard. Nothing that I ever wanted to do again, and we really need to work together to make sure this doesn't happen again.
Thanks. There's a couple of things that we want to touch on this morning, and of course, first and foremost, we're thinking of the families that, especially of the individual involved, and trying to do everything we can to help them, especially with some of our victims advocate resources. We also know that this affects not only the school and their families, but everyone who has children in Albuquerque. And I know, even for myself, last night, Liz and I were talking about our kids going through an actor-shooter drill, and we were actually trying to explain to our kids why they have to do that and what guns are and how dangerous they are. And we see this at every level of school, right? We saw it at Washington just a few months ago. We know there was an incident downtown around a school just yesterday. And the connection between juveniles with weapons is extremely dangerous. It's also something that we have to work on in our criminal justice system. Right now, we just do not have adequate tools to deal with a juvenile that we know has a firearm, and how to keep them off the street or how to get them safe and keep everyone else safe from them. So I know there's going to be a discussion about that in the future, and there absolutely has to be. We have to address this issue. And in the meantime, we also know that we have to talk, unfortunately, we have to have the gun conversation with our families and with our kids. If you think that your children are around people that might have guns, you've got to talk to APS or APD. Obviously, if your own child has access to a gun, you have to do everything you can to try and remove that weapon. And for the high schoolers, because they're certainly old enough and with social media, if you think another student has a gun, please say something. Now, again, in this situation, as the superintendent mentioned, as we understand it, the weapon was not brought on school premises, but obviously this involved at least one high school student at West Mesa. And so we know that this is terribly something that we actually have to have a conversation about at every level of our families and of our communities. We have to understand that we have to say something when we think someone has a firearm. Now, I know there's lots of questions about what happened here today. Why did it happen? Where was the student before? Who is the suspect and what is their background? We're investigating all of that. And as we know, we'll release that information, of course, appropriately. But I do know that these are the same questions we're asking time and time again. And it's the connection between a juvenile and a weapon that costs a life. And we cannot have that in our city. I think I just want to close by saying that, this is a related conversation that's been happening all over America. And now we're seeing it happen right here in Albuquerque, 3 related examples in the last 6 months. And also we know that that nightmare is real for every single parent who is in line trying to pick up their child. They got the call no parent ever wants to get, right? And one parent got the worst call of all. That's what happens when kids have firearms, and that's what we have to stop. Let me hand it off to our DA, Raul Torres.
So unfortunately, Albuquerque again has witnessed extraordinary tragedy. Our hearts go out to the victim's family. As the mayor said, this morning, someone came and knocked on the door of a parent's home and gave them the worst news that they can ever imagine. And for those of us who are in leadership positions, and for those of us who are leaders in the public safety and criminal justice system, we have an obligation to do everything we can, not only to solve this crime and support the Albuquerque Police Department in its investigation, but also to step back and think broadly about what we can do to change this system. As the chief mentioned, as the mayor's mentioned, one of the things that we have identified as a critical failure in our criminal justice system is the fact that when juveniles get their hands on a weapon, right now it's a misdemeanor offense. And what that means is it's actually not referred formally to the district attorney's office. We actually don't know most of the time when a juvenile offender has access to a weapon. Oftentimes those offenders are not even booked into the detention center because of the way our system is structured right now. We don't think that's safe. We don't think that protects the community, and it certainly does us all a disservice in terms of providing the level of protection that we all expect. We're going to be obviously looking very carefully at not only the circumstances surrounding this homicide, the motivation, the people who are engaged, and why this tragedy occurred. But we're also going to be looking very carefully at where that weapon came from, how that weapon was accessed, whether it was accessed at the home, whether it's a stolen weapon, and whether or not there was anything that could have been done earlier to intervene and prevent this tragedy. This is and should be a wake-up call for all of us, that the issue of gun violence and young people is something that we can't ignore any longer. We offered legislation in this last legislative session that would have made the possession of a firearm by a minor, of a handgun, a felony. And that was blocked in a committee by people who seemed so focused on gun rights that they forgot the part about gun safety and about protecting children. And unfortunately, this is exactly why we think that provision needs to be re-examined by the governor and the legislature, and we would strongly encourage them to listen to those of us who are on the front lines of public safety every day and hear the voices of this community, I think, where people have told us unequivocally that they're tired of violent crime and they're tired of their children being put at risk. So, thank you.
I just want to close with a couple of things, kind of building off what DA Torres talked about. Possession of alcohol by a minor is a misdemeanor. Possession of a firearm by a minor is a misdemeanor. There's something theoretically wrong there. We need to increase our abilities to hold people and to make sure they're held accountable. The second thing is, we have a bunch of kids here, young adults who are going to have to come back to school on Monday. And we want to assure them that we have no indication that this is going to spread any further or it involves any large groups that endangers them on Monday. Commander Barraza of the Southwest Area Command is here, and he's been instructed that on Monday we will have a visibility of officers near and around the school to ensure that the kids and the young adults are able to come back to school and feel safe on Monday. We need to continue their education because we know that's one of the struggles we have as a community, and we need them to feel safe, and we need to be supportive for them within the schools. So we do intend to address that and make sure that we have resources present so that they have that confidence to come back and that they're safe next week. And we'll continue to work, and we ask for the community's patience at this time with our investigators as they go through this. And I want to personally thank one of the early responders. We had a sergeant on scene who tried to deliver life-saving measures to the deceased student, and forever this sergeant will carry that he was out there and he tried to do what he could, and it will affect him. So there's a lot of victims in this, and our hearts are out to the family. We'll pray for them, and hopefully we could have somebody in custody as quickly as possible. Thank you.
We'll go ahead and take questions now.
How old was the student?
Do we know the age of the student yet? I don't think we know exactly how old the student was.
And then you guys mentioned there not being a concern to the community. Who's the person that you guys are aware of? Is that another student that may be involved?
We can't say at this point. It's still under investigation, and our detectives are working on that answer right now.
And you guys mentioned it was off campus. Did it happen inside the classroom and spill out, or are you aware of kind of where
No, our understanding is just east of the football field, I guess. There's a football field that's east of the actual school, so there's quite a distance away from any buildings, but just across the street, basically.
Okay. And where is that suspect now?
Well, we're still working on identifying the suspect. So we have some initial information, but it's too early to say if that indeed is the person that committed this act.
And do we know if the students knew each other or what led to the altercation?
We're still trying to determine that at this point.
So no one's in custody, just to clarify.
Nobody's in custody.
But so why do you guys think people are safe?
Like I said, we do have suspect information. We're interviewing witnesses and others who may know who that suspect is, but we have reason to believe that and all the students were inside the school, so we know this. Anyone who involved in this did not go into the school.
Based on what you guys have learned this morning by questioning others, does there seem to be some sort of history between the suspect and the student that died this morning, some sort of altercation that may have happened in the past?
It's too early to suggest anything like that. We need to go through interviews and figure it out.
And you guys mentioned possibly a juvenile with a gun, so the person that you have information about is a juvenile then?
Our initial understanding, I think, is that these were juveniles involved. Until we know for certain what the identity of the offender is, we don't know. But it looks like a juvenile was involved with the gun.
So we don't know if it's another student at this school, though?
We don't know at this point.
Were there just one suspect and one victim, or were other people involved?
We know just one victim. It appears to be one suspect at this point, but like I said, detectives are still on scene interviewing people.
And because this was away from the school, do we know if it was like a drive-by, or do we know anything else about like the altercation?
No, I mean just that there was an altercation. We're not sure where it started, but that's where it occurred off the school, basically across the street. So officers are trying to determine what prompted this, what started, who was always involved.
Is one firearm involved, and if so, do you have possession of it?
I don't know at this point. The detectives are still working on that.
And I have a question for APS. When we talk about these incidents, unfortunately, in the proximity of the school involving students, we were just here not very long ago with the Washington Middle School shooting, and I just wonder, have you guys done anything differently administratively to address this happening at or near schools?
Well, we have a lot of these topics with our students on the campus. We do have protocols that we follow in terms of trying to make sure guns don't come on campus. We have really hammered see something, say something, and we have had success with that in the past where students have heard or seen something and they have reported that, and we've managed to avoid a lot of situations that could have become potentially worse. but we face the same thing everybody else does. Like, there's a shortage of police, there's a shortage of teachers, there's a shortage of people on campus, and we need the public's help in working through this, because there's no guns. APS doesn't have guns, but there's guns in the community, and allowing juveniles access to it is what's driving this, and we really have to work on changing that. It's not okay for these kids to have guns, and they're kids. It's awful.
As a leader of APS, I mean, we have families, some here, that are traumatized and heartbroken over what happened. They're scared to have their kids go to school now. I mean, what do you tell them?
Well, I think they need to know that our schools are filled with people who really love their kids and are doing their best to watch out for them and are paying attention and are working. I mean, today is very different because it didn't happen on the campus, but it's too close. And we are working as hard as we can, and our schools are staffed with people that I think the families know, the teachers and the principals and the people that are on campus are doing their best. And we're trying to staff, and we're trying to find the support as best we can. I think the schools are safe, but this makes it, I understand, it's scary. As a parent myself, I understand. But we are doing everything we can to keep our students safe, and I think people should, really, more things happen outside in the community, but I don't want any more on campus. I want this to stop.
And going off of that, this is the second time an APS police officer has rushed in to save a student's life. Can you speak to the bravery of these officers?
We have a small police force that works for APS, and I know how hard they work and how dedicated they are to our children. And it does not surprise me that one of our officers rushed. That's what they do. They go to help. They're here to help. We want to help, and they want to listen, and they want to support these families and these kids so they know this is a safe place, and there's people who care about them and who will come and help them if there's a problem. Along those lines, I probably should mention that we also have our counseling team here. We have a crisis support team, and they'll be here as long as it's necessary. But we have a lot of people here to help anybody that was traumatized by this event, and they'll be here next week as well.
And we heard from one parent who said that they got the call from their student saying that they were safe much before they got a call from APS. Was there a delay in alerting parents to this?
Actually,
incident?
no. We were pretty quick today. We got it out. I mean, there's time to process. We have to get the details, and we can't just send out, details saying, "Oh, something happened," but don't worry, it's going to be okay, because we need those details initially. And it doesn't surprise me the child with the cell phone. I mean, I bet every kid in that school hopped on that phone to say, "Mom, I'm okay. I'm in a room. I'm okay," and that's okay.
I have a question for the chief. Chief, we see violent crime around the city, it seems, almost every single day in recent weeks. I think we're all pretty exhausted by it. What are we teaching our kids? What are people at home teaching their kids when this is happening right across the street from a school all the time? We saw it yesterday, we're seeing it again today.
I think we need to recognize, number one, it's not easy being a kid in today's day and age. It's very difficult. It's nowhere near what we went through growing up. And I want to compliment some of the kids out there, because although today it didn't happen, every week it seems that we have a great partnership with APS, and we have some student report that somebody's threatening somebody. Just last week, we conducted an investigation jointly with APS, and a lot of kids are bringing it to their attention. We need to continue to ask parents to teach their kids that it's important for them to see something and say something and let everybody else know when somebody's potentially in a situation where they're going to harm themselves or others. And I think that we need to get back to the basics of ensuring that our kids have somebody to listen to, and that they have good role models, and that they have individuals who are really emphasizing the right thing to do. And a lot of times this violent crime that's occurring and that we're all tired of, last year the mayor did put together the Metro Crime Initiative, 40 key points. We're working on it. We made some progress this year, and we'll continue to work on it. And this is an issue that violent crime isn't going to be solved, and I know people don't like to hear this. The Albuquerque Police Department alone is not going to end the violent crime problem in Albuquerque. We need the criminal justice system to work as one, to coordinate as one, and a lot of times we're going to need the public support to make sure that people are nudged and pushed to make those leadership decisions and the right decisions.
Do you know how many times the student was shot?
I don't have that information. It's way too early, and we don't want to compromise the investigation, because although we are trying to get information out to the public, be as transparent as possible, we still have an investigation that we need to secure. We need to make sure that it's strong, because in the end, we want a successful prosecution and we want somebody held accountable. So that's why a lot of times we're not able to pass out as much information as we possibly could, or that the public is asking, because we just need time to ensure that we build a good, strong case. And we've seen it in the past where we didn't get that conviction, and our goal is to get a conviction.
Chief, is this the only scene that you're investigating right now?
This is the only scene that we have active and that we're investigating at this time.
And did the suspect ditch a car at all?
No, we don't believe the suspect has ditched the car, but we are looking into all aspects of this.
Do you know if there's still students on campus?
They were in the process of evacuating the school in a systematic way, building to building, so they may still be evacuating the school, but that process has already started, and since we started here, I don't know if they completed it. It's going to take a while.
And if a parent wants to know where can they go?
We will get information out on social media of directions on how to get their kids safely picked up.
Yeah, just make sure. Yeah, that information will come directly from APS. I think they communicate directly with families, and they'll put information out through their social media. So please look to APS for that information. We'll provide any updates that are available on the actual investigation. So with that, we appreciate everyone's time. Thank you.